Rabbi. Ask him if he hears it now.
Can you hear now?
You know?
You could hear.
Oh? Yeah.
I see. And what about now? Because we're sort of holding up the whole works, you see.
Doesn't it? Happens.
Okay. Okay. So listen, I don't hear that. So if anybody hears that, then that's a sign that there's a problem. If he doesn't call, then there's no problem.
Right.
Follow?
I guess was
הוא עכשיו אומר, הוא אומר שהוא יבדוק עכשיו עוד הפעם.
שומעים.
והוא מתקשר?
No, it's okay now. He fixed it. He fixed it.
So, all right, so the Rebbe said that in Cain there's a special inyan brought out in the Gemara that Chodesh Sivan is the Chodesh Ashlishi. It's the third month. And like I explained, the Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos that we have to thank the Eibishter that he gave a threesome Torah, Nevi'im and Ksuvim, to the threesome people who are Kohanim, Leviim and Israelim on the Yachet Lisoy on the third month. So we see from that the Gemara brings out that there's an inherent connection between third and the Torah. The Torah has a connection in many different ways with the actual idea of third. שהיום, זאת אומרת, שהיום זכאי תכוח 7, יהיה מצביע על הכוח, יש לו מתן שהוא בחודש השלישי דווקא. So in can we move forward and we found that now koyach is linked with Matan Torah and it's also linked with the third. Our Matan Torah is the third state. So the Rebbe says, and all of that is merumaz in the number of the day, which is Kovchet. So he said, how do we get to that? So he says, Koyach Hamiti al Pitera Koshur im Hamispa Shloisho. The idea of a genuine power and koyach being given is connected with the idea of three. So how do we get to that? So the Gemara says in Masechta Bava Metzia that we have a klal al pi halacha that in 3 times you get what's called chazaka. Whenever anything occurs 3 times in a row, so then it becomes what we call an assumed situation, that it will be always like that in a fixed way. That becomes like a fixed, assumed situation, which is called chazaka. And so there's a difference of opinion over there in the Gemara Bava Metzia as to whether it can be even twice or 3 times. But when it gets to certain halachas, then we paskin that even twice is enough. But when it gets to karkois and things of that nature, we paskin that it's only third. It's only 3 times around that you get chazaka. So the Rebbe says, that's back down. The Gemara says that without a pasuk. The Gemara says that's a klal, what the Chachamim made, that through 3 times we can assume that passes into the ownership or becomes a fixed situation in human life. The Rebbe said it's also backed up by a verse. We have a verse in Mishlei which says, "Achut hamishulash lo bimheira yinatek." That if you have a chut and it's on its own, it can snap easily. If you join it with another chut, it's a little bit harder. But if you have 3 chutim and you wrap it from 3 chutim, then it's very difficult to break it, because the 3 chutim, they become like a powerful holding situation of their own. Is there some other problem? Avamela, he said that that's what's hinted in the pasuk in Mishlei, where Shlomo HaMelech says that achut hamishulash lo bimheira yinatek, a chut which is made up of 3 threads. Well, that's not going to very swiftly ever be torn. So from that we see that 3 times over is a giving of a certain power of a situation which doesn't get broken or alter in an easy way. So therefore said the Rebbe, Shloisha moire ala koya kayam benitri. Lafi said that the number 3 is indicatory of a power which is lasting and even what you might call eternal. It doesn't ever give in or alter. Akoya shel dover shel kayoma. It's the power of a existing and ongoing situation, not given to changes. So the Rebbe says, Tachlis hashleimus de koyach, chazocha de shloisho, he says, Gufa, in its own right, harehu shalosh biyomim shalosh. If you're going to get to 28, then you have to go through 27. And 27 is 3 times 3 by 3. 27, 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 times 9 is 27, which means that 3 times 3 times 3 times is 27. So that means that 27 indicates chazaka in chazaka itself. Chazaka is 3, and if you multiply chazaka by 3, you get 27, which means that 27 is like the tripling of chazaka itself, which means a tremendous power in the union of chazaka on its own right. So he says, shalosh biyomim shaliosh biyomim shalosh, that's 27. And 27 is also oisias zach. What zach means, the idea of purity and cleanliness and tahara, and it's well known, something which is pure has an ability to last much more than something which is impure, because the impurities cause it to weaken. But when it's called zach, what zach indicates the idea of a lasting purity, which means that when I move forward now to the day 28, I've been through 27. Which means that in the month of the 3rd Torah, and in the month of the giving of the Torah and the 3rd month, I've already come to 3 times 3, 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27, and then I move into Kof Ches, which means that I've taken all the 27, and I'm now moving into a new day with it, which means that the Yom Kof Ches is an opportunity to bring into action and into perfection the whole 27. So he said, Shabbat Tsfat to Kov Zayin. It comes immediate as a follow-on to Gimel Piyomu and Gimel Piyomu and Gimel, which is 27. And Vamela, 28 is like the perfection for everything which is tried, B'poyo, and it comes out, B'poyo Maiza, that's its perfection. If I move into a new day, then that's as it were proving the perfection of 27, and that's 28. So therefore, I have the shleimus, and that's the inyan of koyach. In other words, that koyach comes as a result of 3 times 3 times 3. It comes as a triple chazaka of Matan Torah, and of the month which represents Yidden and Matan Torah and the reception of the Torah. So that's a pretty amazing concept. So the Rebbe said, "Yesh loima shezeu echad atiyomim lekach shematan Torah hoya b'chodesh hashlishi." So the Rebbe said that's suggestible. That's one of the reasons Davke why the evening of Matan Torah was Davke b'chodesh hashlishi, who kosher imamis b'shloisha kamayim chazal. Yeah, like we bought from the Gemara, Barich Rachmana de Yoe Ve'irayan Tlisoi, La'am Tlisoi Alidei, yeah, Tlisoi. Yeah, how do you call it?
Full. Memory card.
Oh, it's not working?
It's full.
No room. That's funny. Because he took it all over.
It's 0 minutes.
Anyway, so he says that we see that the Torah was given
0 minutes.
say in the actual carrying out of Moshe Rabbeinu's shlichus that for sure they carried out something which made it easier and more powerful for the Yidden to go into Eretz Yisrael and to ultimately conquer and take over the whole Inyan of Eretz Yisrael. And that it was done through the sending of Moshe Rabbeinu of the Meraglim. So the Rebbe said, Kumtois, that there was a Inyan of Yosuru, that they had to reveal through their being in Eretz Yisrael some milah and some tremendous elevation that there is in Eretz Yisrael, and that they did, even though the hemshech was unpleasant over that actual Inyan, just by the presence of the Meraglim in Eretz Yisrael, being as they were, shluchim of Moshe Rabbeinu, even though they may have been sort of mixing in some of their own ideas of it, they were shluchim of Moshe Rabbeinu, and therefore we have to say that they did in effect give a korach to go into Eretz Yisrael in a different way. So the Rebbe said that must come out and have an expression in Avodas Hashem of every Yid. So the Rebbe said, what is that? So he said every Yid has to conquer and enter ultimately his portion of Eretz Yisrael in his life. Every Yid has got to enter his Eretz Yisrael. And that's what the Tzemach Tzedek said. That's the one the Rebbe brings it down. The famous story brought down in the Miktovim with the Frierdiker Rebbe, that a Yid said to the Tzemach Tzedek that he wants to go to Eretz Yisrael, and the Tzemach Tzedek said to him, make here Eretz Yisrael. You have to make here Eretz Yisrael, which means that everybody, no matter where he is in the world, he has a portion where he's living, that's his portion of Eretz Yisrael. So he's got to conquer that portion, and he's got to go, he's got to enter it. So the Rebbe says, what does that mean? That means that he's got to take over and turn that into a Jewish piece of world. It's a little part of, that's what's called, in Siddur Shiur, how do you call it? A chelik shel Adam. Yeah, ba'olam. Chel choy ba'olam. Each and every one of us has got a portion. So you've got to enter that portion, and you've got to conquer it, and you've got to turn it into Eretz Yisrael. And when we say turn it into Eretz Yisrael, we don't mean just any old town, but it's going to be Eretz Yisrael for the whole perfection. So he said the Meraglim, whether or not it appears to us so simply, but they, being shluchim of Moshe Rabbeinu, they made it easier for you to do that in your avodas Hashem. And so therefore he says, B'tei lifol, so he's bekadar, in order to do it easier, yeshna shlicha shel v'yosura tertke. They carried out this task of indicating and bringing out the tremendous yisaron, how do you call it, milah, and supremacy that there is in Eretz Canaan. So the Rebbe says, what is this tremendous milah and advantage and speciality that there is in Eretz Canaan? So he said that we're basing ourselves on the fact that Vayosuru means Yisro, like how do you call it, to bring out the speciality and the greatness. So he said, Yosuru is Eretz Canaan, in order to understand that we have to bring a pasuk in Kohelet. But the pasuk in Kohelet tells us that Yisrael Eretz Ba'koil Hu, that the advantage of this earth, the simple earth, is in everything, literally Ba'koil. So the Rebbe says, what does the word Ba'koil mean? So over there, the great Meforshim learn different simple pirushim in that. However, the Rebbe says that Lafia Apirusha Panimi Bezeh, the word Ba'koil means Spirit HaYisod. Let's put that on the Ramban also. in Parshas Lech Lecha, in Bereshis, that the Ramban, Parshas Chayesora, the Ramban says that the Inyan of the word Ba'koil indicates Spirit HaYisod. And so why is Yesod called Bakoyo? Because Yesod is like the receiver towards the end before entering there, the real Ashpah. And it's got in itself everything from before. All the earlier spheres have all somehow or another been nimshach into Yesod. What does Yesod do? It takes all that and gives it into Malchus through a yichud of Yesod with Malchus. And then Yesod gives over everything from all the spirits into Malchus. And then what does Malchus do? Malchus doesn't remain inactive. No, Malchus gives it over into separate worlds called Biyah. And in order to do that, it must have a tremendous power that even Yesod didn't have. Because if so, Yesod could have done it on its own. Why did it have to be Nimshkat the Malchus? Ella, the korach, the spirits of Malchus, is a whole new korach, all of its own, in order to transliterate everything that Kol has given it into the Unamus Bria Yetzirah Vashiyah. And so the Indian for Malchus is Eretz. Why is Malchus called Eretz? Because it's the lowest and last of all the spheres. But that's Indian for Eretz. So he says, Yirsun Ha'oret, the Maila and the great advantage of what is Bakoyo, from the sphere of Yesod. It gets all the power when Yesod into Malchus. And so the Rebbe says that on Kov Ches Sivan, oh, you guys are all Batlonim. On Kov Ches Sivan, he said Malchus and Yesod got together. So who is Yesod?
Yosef Tzaddik.
Oh, and who is Yosef Yitzchak? The Friedrich Rebbe wasn't Joseph. The Friedrich Rebbe, Yesod, and who is Malchus? The Rebbe. So they got together on Kov Ches Sivan. So the Rebbe said, what happened then? Then he said that Malchus is a very special story. Malchus looks to be just like a makabel. Malchus is taking into it everything that's poured into it. Malchus takes it over and gathers everything from all the other spirits. And where does he get most of it from? From Yesod. So the Rebbe said, oh, well, once Malchus gets it, it doesn't remain dormant. What Malchus does is that it gives it out into Biyah, but it gives it with a whole new power for two reasons. Number one, it's got to go down into worlds that Yesod doesn't know anything about. Yesod only knows of Yichud with Elikus. Malchus is giving over into the worlds of separation, into Bria Yetzirah Vashiyah, into Yeshmi, Ayin, Lord Yotemizah, Lamata. Number one. Number two, says the Rebbe, we want to make there, in these whole worlds of separation, Dira lo yidbara b'tach toinim, which means that we're going to give in such a way that the Elikus will not only enter and preserve what we need in Biyah, but it will take over Biyah, and ultimately it will become the ruling power, and it will become the dweller in the Taktoinim. In other words, that Elikus will take over and be mizgaber in such a way that the world will become a dira b'taktoinim. So how does that occur? That occurs through the spheres of Hamalchus Davkir. So the Rebbe says that what happened on Kov Ches Sivan was that Malchus met up with Yesod. Now what could you need anything more mafurish than that? I mean, you have to be a goylem not to follow what the Rebbe is saying. He's Malchus, and he met up with the Friedrich Rebbe. So where did he get everything from? He got from the Friedrich Rebbe. But he doesn't put it under his pillow and go to sleep. What does he do with it? He brings it out into Elamas Biyah with a tremendous struggle that it will gradually take over in Elamas Biyah, and instead of Helem Vehesta HaNivra Min HaBoirei, there will be Gilu HaBoirei in the Nivra. That's the Indian from Dira Davke V'Taktoinim, and that's the power of Malchus, that it spreads everything. So the Rebbe said that in spreading out, there are two inyanim. Spreading out means, that we're going down into the lowest of all places, but it also means that wherever we can reach, we reach. And the ultimate power of Malchus is to be mahabit the whole world. And not only to be mahabit the whole world, but to, like we said, elevate through the lever, all the elements are elyonim. So the Rebbe said all that began on Kofes. Shalom Aleichem. Oh, you guys. All that happened on Kofes. And that was the meeting together. And then eventually it becomes a inyan von Eishes Chayil at Teres Beitel. That Malchus takes over. And Malchus was called Eishes Beitel. She's only the Makabel at the beginning. But later, she becomes the crown of everybody. In other words, this amazing power of Malchus ultimately to take over everything and be the ruling power of Kol HaMadregas. Like we learn, it elevates everything. It makes even the elements Elyonim reach their proper takli. Rabbi said that's the inyan Yosuru. That's what the Meraglim was supposed to do. And the Rebbe is pointing out that it appears that the pshat in the whole inyan is that the Rebbe learns that they did actually achieve that. That just by their very presence, that they were shluchim shel Moshe Rabbeinu, and it was l'daitcho, it was with Moshe Rabbeinu's das, or that gave the very fact that they were there in Eretz Yisrael, or that gave the ability to be Yosuru as Eretz Yisrael. And therefore it's not written to be Yeraglu. Yeraglu is a different, how they call it, Meraglim. It's written by Yosura as Eretz Canaan. And the whole inyan was to reveal the ultimate shleimus in Eretz Taukia, through the fact that they were representatives of Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Rebbe said that that's what's happened on Kofes. So Shalom Aleichem, everybody. That's what happened on Kofes. That's the beginning of the whole inyan. What Rashi brings down in the beginning of Shir Hashirim, Yishokenim and Ashikas Pihu. Rashi writes that Muvtochim Anaknu Mi'itoi. Rashi says, we have been promised by Hashem, Lo Hofia Oda Lehem, Levaya Lehem Soi Tamei Umista Tfunaseya Shol Torah. Rashi says that the Evet's going to appear on us again. He's not going to give us a new time, the Torah, because that's all he wants. But he's going to reveal to us all the pnimius and the hidden parts of the Torah, and that's the ultimate shleimus of Mashiach. So the Rebbe said, Toyameya Chaim Zohu, the ones, some people, they taste all the machorim before Shabbos actually comes in, like we learned earlier before, in the name of the Magen Avraham. So that's where we're holding right now. We're tasting everything, but the Rebbe said there's also a limit to how much you can taste. You taste, but it's only a tasting. It doesn't mean you just sit for hours and eat. So he said, we've already been mekayim, the tasting. Now we're moving into the Zochu, now we're moving into the Gula, Shlema, Teichem Yad Mamish, and all that is the inyan from Kofches, Sheva, Vaho. So it's a whole different idea altogether, eh? A whole different world. But the inyan from Kofches, Philip Flores. So, as the old saying, have it, so you wanted it, so you got it.
Wow.
And there's another secret that the Rebbe said later in Toshin, it's not that secret, but another longer secret that the Rebbe said, where he develops on this whole moshel of Malchus and Yisod, how they met together. And Yisod gave a lot of korach into Malchus. Well, Malchus has its own korach, and then it had to take over and act all on its own. The Rebbe brings the whole thing here. I mean, he says clearly, what's the whole story? He says clearly that he spurs them up. So who's Malchus? What is Malchus? Melech HaMashiach? That's it. Pshuta. Aber Mele, that's the story, guys.
Wow.
So it's good to make l'chaim. And now we have to think about going up to the bar mitzvah, but in the meantime,